Parshas Bo. This week's Parsha opens with a recurring theme, which is Pharaoh's reluctance, refusal to go along with the program that Moshe and Aaron set before him at the behest of the Almighty. In Perek Yud Pasuk Gimel, that's 10:3, the Torah says as follows: Vayavo Moshe v'Aaron el Paro. Moshe and Aaron came to Paro, Vayamru Elav, and they said to him, Ko amar Hashem Elokei Ivrim. So says God, the Lord of the Hebrews. Ad Mosai me anta le anos miponai. How long will you continue le anos? Le anos is the word I'd like to examine here. Translated as to humble yourself. How long will you go without humbling yourself before me? Shalach ami v'yavduni. Send out my people so that they may serve me. What's this le anos? Le anos. How does it mean humble? So Rashi says ketargumo. Like its translation this is an allusion to Targum Onkolus, which is a translation from the Hebrew, from the Lashon HaKodesh to Aramaic. Onkolus says li'iskana'a, to be humble, to humble oneself. And this seems to be a recurring theme here, although the lines between humbling and other things tend to get a little blurry. The Meforshei Rashi, that's the Sifsei Chachamim, the Mizrahi, the Gur Aryeh, which was written by the Maharal, they all say it is not the same as the verse in Bereshis, in Genesis, where Hagar is told, Shuvi ligvirteich, Shuvi el givirteich. This is the Malach Hashem, the angel of God, speaking to Hagar when she fled from Sarah's control. Shuvi el givirteich v'hisani tachas yadeha. And same letters, hisani le'anos. It's ayin nun hey is the root. Here, the Targum Onkolus says the ishtabdi, that's shiabud, that means subject to service. So the Meforshei Rashi go out of their way to say that this is not the same as v'hisani tachas yadeha, and subject yourself to her service. There are other Meforshim, however, who don't draw as distinct a line between humbling yourself and submitting yourself or subjugating yourself to somebody else's control. The Rashbam says it's like inui and oni. These are all related words. Inui, we tend to believe it means some kind of suffering. Oni is poverty. The Meforshim here tend to read ad masai me anta le'anos mipanai. How long will you refuse to humble yourself? As coming from oni or ani, which is a poor person who tends not to be arrogant, tends because of his position to be humble or even lowly in order to gain favor from others, so that others will help him out. But it does seem to be related to this notion of being underneath someone else's control, which is really very similar, despite the claims of the Meforshei Rashi that it's not related. According to other Meforshim, it's very much related, which is to humble yourself in a control situation means to submit yourself to the control of others. Now, this may explain or shed light on the notion of the Chamisha Inuyim of Yom Kippur, because the language of that verse is the inisem es nafshosechem. You will, again, this inui es nafshosechem. What does that inui here mean? With Yom Kippur, we know that the chamesh es inuyim are desisting from eating, drinking, wearing leather shoes, engaging in intimate relations, and engaging in the smearing of delightful oils, of creams that would be an indulgence. So what's the common denominator, or is there a common denominator? One might suggest that Inui means some kinds of submission. Typically, when people learn about Yom Kippur, they talk about afflicting ourselves. You will afflict your souls. V'nisem es nafshosechem. So we have this question of what Inui means. We're going to get back to that. We're close. But we'll also talk about nafshosechem. What does nafshosechem mean? So nefesh can mean simply a life. It sometimes means soul, although I suspect that people frequently mistake nefesh for neshama. They have similar words, similar letters, not identical. Neshama means soul. We've talked about the distinction between soul and life in the past, and there is another meaning for nefesh, which is ratzon, and this shows up in Bereshis, where Avraham Avinu wants to bury his wife Sarah, and he says to Bnei Ches, he says, Im yesh es nafshechem, if you want me, that's Ritzonchem. And there are several psukim elsewhere, in Yirmiyahu, for example, in which the word nefesh, or nafshi, is translated by the Abarbanel, by Rashi, as being ratzon, ratzon meaning desire, will, or desire. Ani rotzeh, I would like. Ani rotzeh mashu lishtot, I would like something to drink. Bavakasha, lavir tamayim, please pass the water, or something along those lines. But ratzon means desire. Now, if we put these together and we say v'inisem es nafsho sechem, if nafsho sechem means your desires, and v'inisem means humble or control, li'ishtabed, to control your desires, then what the Torah is telling us on Yom Kippur is that there are several specific types of indulgence which a person is mandated to control, to assert his own control over his desires. Everybody wants to eat. Some people want to eat all the time. Everybody wants to drink. Everybody wants to indulge in other types of activities, or many people do from time to time. And what the Torah is telling us, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, is on Yom Kippur, control yourself. Why? Why is that so important? Well, it could be. There are many reasonings. Some of it is, well, with this way we minimize the manifestations of our physical existence, and we get closer to the level of the malachim, of the angels. You could also say that when a person approaches HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, on Yom Kippur, the biggest obstacle is a lack of belief that we can actually do better. Yom Kippur is for teshuvah, and a person who comes before the Almighty and says, I've sinned and I just can't control myself, is destined to sin again. On the other hand, if he is taught that he can control himself, he can control himself in the most basic ways. Eating and drinking. We all eat and drink every day, I believe. Most of us, or at least most of us who have the opportunity, will eat and drink unless there is some reason that we're fasting. And yet, on Yom Kippur, we do fast. What does fasting mean? In this case, it means we're controlling our appetites. V'inisem es nafshosechem. Control. Assert control over your appetites. This is a laboratory, so that on Yom Kippur, we learn that we can control ourselves. This is a lesson that Pharaoh has not learned. And the Almighty says, what do I have to do? Pharaoh, what do I got to show you? Ad masai me anta le'anos mipanai. How long is this going to go that you will refuse to submit yourself to me? Li'iskanoa, or li'ishtabed, to subject yourself to my rule. And this ultimately is the lesson that Pharaoh has to learn and does learn. This is the lesson that the Mitzrim learn, and it's a lesson for all of us to learn, that the ultimate calling is to remove our arrogance and to humble ourselves before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that we are more likely to do His will, and we are more likely to control ourselves for the greater good. Have a good Shabbos.